Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm joined by Thor.
Yes,
Bro,
bro. How's it going? You good?
all good, man, all good. Introduce yourself, bro.
Hi, guys. You alright? How's it going? I'm Tor. I run Way Out Music Group. I started it about a year ago, and I'm an artist manager and an A&R working within the British music scene.
Hard. So how did you get into being an artist manager?
So, I guess for me, always loved music really. From a young age, like started out by throwing drum and bass parties in Reading where I live. So I was probably about 16, 17 years old. And I just loved music, so I saved up my pocket money, booked out my favourite venue at the time, and then just threw a rave basically in Reading. Like booked all my mates to DJ at it. But at the time, my favourite DJ was DJ Voltage, and I think we booked him for sort of £400 back then. And we completely sold the night out. So it was the first one we ever did. We sold like 500 tickets or whatever it was. And we were like, bloody hell, we've actually made like decent bit of money here. So we were like, let's just keep it rolling. So then we just kept it rolling really. We did like Sub 89 in Reading, if you know that. We then had like Hybrid Minds come through, and then we started branching out to Bristol, Brighton. We did a couple in London, Oxford, and we just had loads of fun with it. And so I kept doing that, and then I started booking at the Turtle as well in Reading, the Purple Turtle for BBC Introducing. So I booked quite a lot of shows there as well. Then I thought, you know what, like, I'm really enjoying this music stuff, so I'm just going to keep it moving. And then I started applying for some interns when I was probably about 18 or 19, and there was one for a company called Anglo Management in London. So Anglo look after like Fatboy Slim, Pete Tong, Idris Elba, Camel Fat. And anyway, I got an offer in the marketing team. So they were like, "Do you want to come in and be an intern in the marketing team?" And I thought, you know what, it's not really my bag, but I'll give it a go. So I came in, I did it for probably a couple months. And I kind of thought, look, this isn't for me. Do you know what I mean? I don't like setting up adverts. I'm not into the whole like social media thing on that level. But luckily the owner had heard me on the phone. He'd heard me sort of hustling, and he was like, "I tell you what, why don't we give you a go in the publishing team?" And I just loved it. So I just got stuck in, started signing artists, obviously putting people forward for syncs, building my own roster, working within the business. And then after probably a couple of years, I was like, do you know what, this whole management thing looks interesting as well. I've always wanted to do that. Like, I know when you're a kid, you're like at home, like Googling, like, how do you be a band manager? Like, but like, obviously you can't just find jobs for it like that. You kind of have to create your own path. So yeah, after a while, I brought in an artist called Harley Blue, who I just loved. I actually booked her at the Purple Turtle like 2 years in advance. And she just put on such an amazing show. Like I always just had a lot of love for her basically. And then when I started managing, I just brought her on board, and she was the first artist I've managed. We worked together for quite a long time. I then built up a bigger roster within Anglo, and then I left there. It's probably started last year, so about 18 months ago now. Left there and then went solo. Started Way Out Music.
Sick.
And it's just been a natural progression from there really.
Sick. So how many artists are on the roster at Way Out?
So at the minute, what have I got at the minute? I've got 3 at the minute. So I've got Songer Yxng Dave, and I've got a band called King Kuda.
Sick.
And I have actually just brought on another artist as well called Blue Boy and Dash. So they're the main producers for Strands. So they produce all the Strands records. Okay. And they're also going into dance music. So we've got some wicked dance records there. And that's very early stage. We're just sort of putting the projects together at the minute, getting ready to drop them, finding labels, finding partners. So yeah, it's growing nicely, really.
Sick. You said obviously Songer and Yxng Dave. What's it like working with those two?
I mean, it's great fun. Do you know what I mean? And they're both from Reading. So I'm from Reading myself, and I'm all about everything I do is kind of bigging up Reading. Like I moved to London for a bit, and then I wanted to come back to Reading and put it on really. But yeah, I love working with those boys. Like, do you know what I mean? We're mates before anything, and we have a great time when we do it. And we get the job done. Obviously, it has its hard days sometimes, but it's the same as anything in life. Do you know what I mean? But most of the time, we just have the best fun. And I think that's the most important thing is like, when you're doing this, you just got to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, then what's the point of doing it? Like, we do music because we love it. So you just got to get into it and enjoy it, really.
You said you went away. I think you said you were in London for a little bit and you came back to Reading. Why did you want to come back to Reading?
So I moved to London to live with my girlfriend, and I thought, like, although London's the place to be because everyone's there, it's such a saturated market. I think Reading has got so much talent and potential, but everyone always thinks you just have to leave and go to London. But what if you actually flip that on its head? What if you just decide to stay? Rather than go into a place which is already saturated, it's already got hundreds of music studios, hundreds of labels, hundreds of managers, why not do it somewhere else and create an opportunity? Like, so I just thought, do you know what, I'm coming back. So I came back to Reading, And I'm working on a couple of projects in Reading at the minute that hopefully going to be opening sort of starting next year. And it's all about just bringing the creative community together and just uniting people and bringing all the talent together. There's all these amazing acts, bands, but there's barely any studios. There's only a few. There's no labels. There's no publishers. There's no management companies. There's nothing here. Do you know what I mean? You guys are probably one of the first to be doing your thing around here as well. So it's like, that's why I came back. And also, I think there's so much talent in Reading. It's all this talent, but there needs to be a hub for it.
Yeah.
So like, I want to get an office. I want to be the first management company in Reading. Do you know what I mean? I want to bring it together and just start something new. And then people won't have to go to London. People in Reading could be like, oh, way out. I could go to see them rather than having to go into London.
I love that. I love that because I was in London myself and I came back for that same similar sort of reason. I think there is so much talent, you know, in this area. Yeah. So it's so refreshing that, you know.
I think it's the right thing to do. It's like people get so like sort of caught up with the whole London thing, don't they? Another prime example is ADEX, North Quarter, H's management team. Those guys did the same thing, but in Manchester, and they've smashed it. Do you know what I mean? ADEX bought a huge office. He's now got studios, labels, publishing. He's done everything, and it's the same idea. You don't need to be in London. There's so many other areas.
No, definitely. One thing that I really wanted to ask you was, for a lot of people might be asking a similar question, but what does a kind of day in the life for an artist manager entail? Yeah,
this is a good one. See, my mates just think I'll just sit in the pub all day, but it's not quite like that. So, I mean, firstly, every day is completely different, which is what I love. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't bear sitting in an office doing nothing all day. I'd go nuts. I need to be out doing things. So, I think every day is completely different, really. But from an overview and a summary, it's like, as a manager, you're kind of across everything the artist is doing. So whether that's like records, publishing, shows, brand partnerships, branding, creative, socials, whatever it is, you kind of sit across all of it. So let's just take a normal day in my life, for example. I might get up, I might go into London, do some meetings on projects. I might end up at the studio. On another day, I might have a show on. I might be on tour, I might be at a festival. So every day is different. There's no sort of set routine. But a lot of it is probably networking, I'd say. A large majority of my day is networking, is meeting with new people, seeing what we can collaborate on, seeing where the new business is, a lot of planning, a lot of creativity, and I like to spend a lot of time in the studio as well. I think some managers kind of get lost with the creativity and they spend a lot of time on the phone in the office and they don't go to the studio as much, but I find that it's quite nice to be in the studio where the magic happens, because that's, at the end of the day, you need to be plugged into your artist in every single type of way. So for me, I like to be across everything. You know what I mean? I like to be traveling around, whether it's studios, shows, whatever it is. I always try and be there.
Sick. I mean, if I was going to paint a kind of picture for you, like there's an artist out there that's putting everything they can into music, absolutely everything, 110%, but they're just not getting the recognition. What kind of advice would you give them?
I think the main thing is just never give up. Like, you have to constantly be hustling in this game. The second you give up, why is anyone else going to back you? Like, it has to come from the artist. I always say this when I sort of speak to new artists or artists want some advice. I think like 80% should be the artist. You know what I mean, at the end of the day, if the artist doesn't have a vision, then obviously it's hard for anyone to get behind it. But I think it's just determination and consistency. Just never give up. Like, yes, like some people might go faster than others, you know what I mean? Like in my time as a manager, there's other managers that have gone absolutely mental, and there's other managers that are still at the same level, and it's the same with artists. So I think you can't rush it. Don't ever base it on someone else's success and timeline. You run on your own timeline. Just never give up. Just keep working. Try new things every day. Do what you love. Like, make sure. I think that's probably another important thing, is doing what you love. Do you know what I mean? If there's a certain part of the industry you enjoy more, like touring or shows, then focus on shows. And just keep going until you get somewhere, and just keep networking, keep working with new people, and eventually you'll get there. I think anyone can do it. I don't think anyone's necessarily more talented than anyone else. Do you know what I mean? I think obviously some people have a natural skill, but I think with work ethic and dedication, anyone can do it.
That's interesting. So how much, if you're going to give it in percentages, how much is natural talent and how much of it is hard work?
I mean, it's tricky. It's hard to say, isn't it? Because it's like, I mean, even Ed Sheeran talks about this. Like, you listen to his first records, they're awful. Now he's the biggest artist in the world. So I think it's like, obviously certain people are just born with a natural talent. Do you know what I mean? You see these guys that like, they were 10 years old and they were playing guitar and just singing belters already. And it's like, you can't argue with that. But I do think that other people don't have that same talent and they learn it throughout their career and they just dedicate themselves to it. It's like people say the 10,000 hour rule. People say that obviously if you commit 10,000 hours to anything, you're going to be an expert at it.
10,000 hours, okay.
Yeah, have you heard it before? You heard about 10,000?
Briefly, I think so.
Yeah,
it's
so
a lot of
say
hours.
Yeah, they say it with like sport and like playing an instrument, sport, anything that requires you to be professional.
Yeah.
People say that 10,000 hours is what you need to be like an expert at something.
Okay.
It's a lot of hours, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of hours. But if you love something, like you said before, if you
Yeah.
love doing it,
That's
then
it.
it's not really going to feel like work, is it?
Yeah, so that's it. I don't want to obviously say there's no talent involved, because there is a lot of talent involved. But I think it's an interesting point is like how many people are born with a talent and how many people learn it. I don't know the answer myself, but I do know that like people can work really hard. I've seen artists, do you know what I mean, that have started out, they might not necessarily written the greatest songs or they might not have been the best performer, but after a while they've nailed it. And I think that just comes from practice and just trying until they get into their groove.
So I suppose a lot of it is confidence then, right?
That's a good point. But yeah, I guess it is really, because if you lacked the confidence, then you wouldn't believe in yourself enough to keep going. So yeah, I guess confidence is probably a massive part of it.
If one of your artists was struggling with their confidence, what would you do to kind of get them back out of their shell, get them back into their groove?
I think the studio is definitely the place I'd take them. Like, as a musician or an artist, everything starts in the studio, really. So I think it would be just getting them back in the studio, maybe coming to the studio with them, like with one of their favourite producers, or even a producer they've never worked with. So there's no expectation. They just turn up, have a good time, make a good record, and then just build it up gradually from there. I think you have to remove the pressure. If someone's feeling low, you've got to remove the pressure and just take it back to what they enjoyed the most. Or maybe go see a show with them, take them to see their favourite artist and just inspire them. I think that's it really, just where the fun starts. Do you know what I mean?
No, I love that, because I think that is something that so many artists do struggle with, that pressure. Yeah. And then how it obviously is going to negatively impact their confidence.
Yeah, of course.
Because it can be quite a scary career, right? Yeah,
it can be very scary. Like, I remember when me and Dave were on tour with KSI for the first tour, it was like Dave had gone from doing these sort of, he hadn't even done many shows. We'd done 2 or 3 shows, and then he got thrown straight into the Wembley and O2 Arena and things like that. And it was like, that must have been terrifying for him. Do you know what I mean? Like not having all these shows under his belt. Like a lot of artists would work their whole career to get to that point. And obviously Dave got thrown straight in there and he nailed it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could see he was nervous, but once he got on that stage, he just enjoyed it. And then every single time he just wanted to do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
So I think although it must be scary, I think maybe doing it like that, it can be good. Just going straight in and facing your fears, because now there's probably not many things that will faze him because he's been in at that level. Yeah.
That is so true, because even when he came on the pod, he was saying how he could just flip it and turn the negative kind of nerves and anxiety into excitement, which I think is so sick to be able to channel that and then give the best possible performance.
Yeah, I think it can, sometimes it can be good. A bit of adrenaline can like help with a performance, can't it? If you were just so chill about it and you had no nerves. I mean, I might be wrong saying this, but I feel like if you had no nerves about something, maybe you don't care enough. I don't know, I might be completely wrong and some people might not get it, but even me as a manager, like, Songer did Reading Festival, when was it, a week ago, and I was nervous. Like, my stomach was churning. I was walking around pacing like he does, and I was nervous for him, and I was nervous myself, and I wasn't even going on the stage. I just felt it was a massive show for us. It meant a lot, and I think because it was our hometown and it felt like everything was riding on it when nothing was really riding on it, even I felt nervous. There was like a pressure there, and I think that's because I cared so much that performance was just 10 out of 10.
It looked sick.
It was good.
It looked amazing, to be fair. How was it?
It was my favourite show to date so far. Like, it just felt special. It was in our hometown. I had all my boys there. Had all the Songers family. Like, my girl was there. Everyone was there. Do you know what I mean? Dave was there. Rax, one of my other artists from Reading. Everyone was there. So it was like, it was a team vibe, and it felt like a win for Reading. Do you know what I mean? And since that's what Way Out's about, it was a big win. And it's like, the tent was rammed. it was great to see all the supporters there, and just hopefully we can just build it now and then just do the same on the main stage. Like that's the next goal.
Which tent was it?
So it was the one extra tent.
Sick.
Yeah, so we were the third headliner, but it was completely rammed. Do you know what I mean, front to back.
It looked packed, bro.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah,
like, it was mental. It was the biggest show we've ever done, and it was the craziest show we've done. Like, the crowd they were like electric. Do you know what I mean? They were just going crazy for it. We just didn't want it to end, really. I think Songer would have just kept going and going and going.
How long was the set?
It was only a 40-minute set.
Need another 40 minutes.
We need, for Songer, we do, yeah.
Yeah.
He likes to perform like at least an hour and a half normally.
Yeah, 'cause he's got like serious
He's
bodies
got
of work.
stacks. Yeah, so normally we perform for about an hour and a half, but obviously at festivals you have to cut it down.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was wicked, man. It was a great moment, and I think it was a moment that like we hadn't felt yet before. Do you know what I mean? Bringing it home to Reading, now it's done. It's like we've ticked that one off, and now we just keep going and going and going until we come back for the main stage, which is definitely on the cards.
Sick.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, that's great to hear, man. It really is. I think it's so sick to see, even with what you've done with Songer in such a short space of time.
Yeah.
I mean, when did you start managing him?
So I think we started having talks probably 2 years ago now, and I was kind of we're kind of just feeling each other out. Obviously, we knew each other from the Reading scene, and him and Dave linked up on a record, Neverland, probably about 3 or 4 years ago now. And obviously, I knew Songer, he knew me, but at the time, I didn't have any room or capacity to bring any other artists on. And I don't think he was ready for a manager. He was kind of happy doing his thing. And it just got to a point where I just couldn't ignore it. I was a massive fan of his work. He was from Reading. It kind of just felt like the thing to do. And I think he felt the same way. So we kind of like, we started talking, and like, he would sort of hit me up and be like, bro, I've got a meeting with Sony or whatever it is. Do you mind coming with me, sort of thing? And we just started feeling each other out. And then it got to a point where I left Anglo. So I freed up my whole day. I just had Dave and Glow and King Kudu at this point. So I sort of cut everything right down. And I was like, right, like, I want to put a plan together. I want to do this. You're from Reading, I'm from Reading. Like, let's do this. Let's make it happen. So I just put together a proposal, took it to him, and he was up for it. And we just started working. And I think so far we've ticked off everything we wanted to tick off within the first couple of years.
Sick.
And it's just growing really nicely now. So we're sort of on a roll. And don't get me wrong, it was ups and downs at first, because it took us a while to realise how we both work and to sort of come together and work well together. Do you know what I mean? Songer's highly creative, and since he'd never had a manager or anyone in his team before, he was used to doing everything 100% himself. And I think for him at first, it was a bit of a shock when I came in and was sort of changing things or doing things differently to how he might have done it in the past, and he would have to get used to that. And so it took us a while to really get into sync, but now it's like a well-oiled machine. We're moving nicely now. Do you know what I mean? I understand how he works, he understands how I work. And I guess that's the same with anything in life. Like, when you start dating someone, do you know what I mean? You're not just going to suddenly move in and jump in straight away. It's a similar thing. You're building a relationship, and you have to gradually work out how each other works.
Of course.
Yeah, it's going really well now, though.
So what would you say your highlight of this last 12 months has been?
Oh, there's been so many, I think. Like,
there has been a lot. From the outside looking in, there's been a lot.
Yeah, it's been nuts. Like, this last year is mad. Like, when I go back through like my camera roll on my phone, I'm like, bloody hell, that was this year as well. Like, yeah, it's been nuts. Like, we toured Europe for the first time. We had another sold out UK run. We had a #1 hip hop album. Obviously, we're going to Australia.
#1 hip hop album.
Yeah, so we had a #1 hip hop and R&B album in the UK, fully independent, no label.
Which album was that? The Songer one?
Yeah, that was the Songer Scala.
Wow, bro, that's huge.
Yeah,
I didn't know
bro.
that.
Yeah, so it was #1 in the hip hop and R&B charts in the UK.
Wow.
So that was pretty tasty. And then
that's got to be up there.
Yeah, that's got to be up there. And we filmed a Daily Duppy last week as well. So you're getting a bit of juicy goss. So we did a Daily Duppy last week, which is coming out soon. And then obviously Vino Bandit as well. Like, there's just been so many great things this year that I've loved doing. I also worked on some stuff as a consultant. I worked on Still Bangles album, which was pretty fun. So yeah, there's been loads of wicked things this year.
Sick,
yeah,
man.
I'm grateful for it, man. It's been a good year.
It's been so nice to see from the outside you smashing it, bro. I think you're definitely, setting pace for other Berkshire creatives and people looking to kind of start their own thing, which is sick, man. So
no, I appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
No, honestly, bro, you've been doing your thing, man. You've been doing your thing. So I mean, in terms of the next 12 months, how's that looking?
So yeah, I mean, we've got obviously Australia, New Zealand in a month. And then I'm going to take a bit of time out at the end of the year. I'm just going to go to Asia probably for sort of 3 weeks and just wind down. I've not taken any time off this year, so I need to I need to wind down, charge up my creative battery, and then come back for next year. I'm working on a concept for Songer's album next year, which hopefully, if we can pull off, is going to be like, hopefully it's going to be historic. It's a big concept. I'm not going to go into the detail too much today, but it's a big concept. It's never been done. It'll be over, like, everyone in the UK will probably see and hear about it. The aim is it's going to be a #1 album at the end of it. We're going to make a documentary whilst we do it. Wow. So it's going to be mega. And then we've got another tour coming up next year. We're sort of taking it up a notch. Obviously, we've got Yxng Dave's debut EP coming out as well.
Fantastic.
Put a run together for him. Hopefully get him on some support slots next year. And then, I mean, so far that's kind of it. Obviously, I've got this hub thing I was talking about in Reading that I'm trying to get off the ground at the minute as well, with my good friend Simon Orks, who's also from Reading. And then I reckon there'll be some more international touring, hopefully. Another trip to Australia is probably going to be on the cards.
Fantastic.
And then just keep growing the business, really. Bring in some new artists, grow the team, and just take everything up a notch.
Amazing, bro.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, man. It's exciting.
Thank you.
It's exciting, bro. Thank you so much for coming on.
No worries, bro. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
No, honestly, bro. Appreciate it. It's been amazing seeing your journey unfold. Keep motivating, keep inspiring.
Thank you, bro.
Guys, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. It's been Thor.
Nice one, guys. Thanks for having me.
We'll catch you on the next one.